The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. Both yours and mine, equally valued. So let's compare. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. The debate is raging on Capitol Hill regarding the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Currently, there is a hearing going on. We're about to join it between the FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate and Ronald Rowe, who is the acting director of the United States Secret Service. There have been very good questions and, more importantly, very good answers as a part of this hearing. Senator Gary Peters, the Democrat from Michigan, asked about the 30-second lapse between when local police radioed the shooter was armed on the roof and when shots were fired at Donald Trump. Acting Director Rose said the Secret Service did not hear the radio warning about the shooter being armed. Quote, if we had had that information, they would have been able to address it more quickly. That information was stuck or siloed in the state and local channel. Rose said, it is troubling to me that we did not get that information as quickly as we should have. His agents didn't know that there was an incident unfolding. Nothing about a man on the roof, nothing about a man with a gun. None of that information ever made it over our security net. Rose said the gap will be addressed. Secret Service is working to figure out interoperability between local and federal radios and to make sure that we do have access to those channels. Rowe, for his part, was extremely contrite regarding the circumstance. He said in this hearing, I could not and I will not and I cannot understand just exactly the lack of coverage on the roof. He said it should have been clear that the AGR building was a risk during the site survey done before the event. That complete quote was, I could not, I will not, and I cannot understand why there was not better coverage or at least somebody looking at that roof line when that's where they were posted. So he showed a number of photos of reenactments of the shooting taken during a Secret Service review, showing the full 5-inch rise of the roof that would make it difficult for counter snipers to take out crooks. He praised the agent who killed the shooter for doing so when you can barely make out the crown of his head when the crime scene was replicated. Some other things on these live updates. The Secret Service late deployment of a counter drone operation is something that cost me a lot of sleep, said Acting Director Rowe. Shooter Thomas Crooks used a drone at the site ahead of the Secret Service survey of the area. Rowe's comments came in response to questioning from Senator Chuck Grassley. He is the Republican from Iowa who's been all over this ever since it happened, who noted that the cell network issues prevented the Secret Service from surveying the area at 3 p.m. as planned, pushing the activity until after 5 p.m. In short, the Secret Service drone did not have sufficient cellular broadband capability to be flown successfully. In other words, the Secret Service was using civilian cell service for their drone. That's something that's going to be in the AAR. In other words, the after-action report when all of these things are investigated, etc. Abate, who is the FBI deputy director, said the FBI was still investigating how Crooks got an AR-15 style rifle onto the roof. He believed it was most likely in his backpack as he climbed onto the roof. During his testimony, he did say that even though the rifle would have been in his backpack, there would still be portions of the rifle protruding through it. That's true in my own basic experience. It's not easy to hide a full-size or even a carbine-size version of the AR-15 in a backpack. They're just not big enough. He went on to say, quote, we don't have definitive evidence as yet as to how the rifle got up there based on everything that's been collected so far. photos, eyewitness testimony, video. We do believe he likely had it in the backpack, broken down into the backpack. It's possible that it could have indeed been broken down to a degree. There are a couple of pins that hold those rifles together, that hold the back part of the barrel assembly to the actual receiver of the rifle. You could take one of them out and essentially fold the rifle down to about 45 degrees. And that may have fit into the backpack at that point. We don't know. He had time to be able to, these pins are sort of mounted so that they stay in the receiver group so that they won't fall out. In other words, you can pull the pin, you can sort of bend the rifle down just a little bit, put it in a backpack, perhaps, and then as you reach for the rifle in the backpack, you can then straighten the rifle out, push that pin back in, and have a fully serviceable rifle. This could also, by the way, affect the zero of the rifle. In other words, where is the round going after you complete putting the rifle back together again? That may account for why Donald Trump is alive. That is just an assumption on my part. Remember, I am not an expert, and I don't even play one on this broadcast. Senator Ron Johnson, the Republican from Wisconsin, pushed a bait on labeling the attempted assassination a domestic terror event, as he fears the distinction makes the investigation potentially partisan. You said this is an assassination attempt and domestic terrorism. It's obviously an assassination attempt. Why make the distinction? Abate replied, it's important to cover all the possibilities here, noting that lessons have been learned from past events, including the June 17th congressional baseball shooting. The FBI has classified that shooting, which injured 6 people, as an act of domestic terrorism. He said, we've learned a lesson from that, and we've made changes in the Bureau. It's reflected here in terms of how this investigation is being approached, with a completely open mind and inclusive of all the possibilities, including domestic terrorism. That was a good point on the part of Senator Johnson, because it does have a flavor of partisanship. And when you consider the recent past of the FBI blatantly playing politics with American law, that is a question that simply had to be asked. Meanwhile, back onto some of these particular updates. We're going to break away from those. Josh Hawley currently appears to be raking the acting director of the CIA, make that the Secret Service, over the coals. Let's join the broadcast from C-SPAN.
In charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service. Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage, knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance. And as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the decision-making process was? What more do you need to investigate
to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
I cannot put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
what do you mean put your thumb on the scale?
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
then
just like you have.
Somebody
and
to
I
hold
will tell
them
you,
accountable.
Senator, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly persecuted?
Unfairly,
people
sir.
Who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
You said earlier that you've got to make sure that your protocols are followed, and unless there's a protocol violation, people wouldn't be disciplined. I would just say to you, I don't really care that much about your protocols. I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former president is shot, when an American is killed, when other rally goers, innocent people who just showed up on the day, when they are shot at and critically wounded, if that isn't a protocol violation prima facie, you should revise your protocols.
Senator, I think this is where you and I agree. This was a failure, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Well, I hope you're going to do something about it. Let me ask you something else. The Real Clear Politics reports this morning that you were directly involved in denying additional security resources and personnel, including counter snipers, not just to this event, but over the last 2 years, that President Trump's team repeatedly asked for these additional resources, and you personally were involved in denying them. Is that true?
Senator, as I stated earlier, that is not true.
So you never denied any resources to former President Trump's team?
No, not me. No, sir.
And you weren't involved in any of that? You were never involved in the decision making?
No, sir, I was not.
Let me ask you just one or two other things here quickly. Well, whistleblowers tell me that, in fact, law enforcement were stationed to be on that roof and that law enforcement abandoned their post because it was too hot. Is that accurate?
Senator, I have heard that as well. Again, they posted up inside. And I think moving forward, as I said earlier, we're going to ensure that state and local counter snipers are on roofs.
But do you know if someone was supposed to be on the roof? Do you know if someone was in fact? That's what the whistleblowers tells me. That may or may not be accurate. Do you know that to be the fact? Was somebody posted to the roof, local law enforcement or whomever?
I do not know that to be a fact.
Well, can I ask you why you don't know that?
Again, Senator, we are looking at this, and they should have been on that roof. And the fact that they were in the building is something that I'm still trying to understand.
I just want to express my frustration, Director, that 17 days or whatever it's been, that whistleblowers are telling us more than you are, and you don't know, you haven't ascertained if there was supposed to be law enforcement on the roof. That seems like a pretty basic fact. I'm also told that local law enforcement suppliers offered the Secret Service drones, and you declined them. Is that true?
So, Senator, one, I've been very transparent and forthcoming.
Your agency has not been transparent and forthcoming, so please, let's not go there.
I have been forthcoming, sir.
That remains to be seen. You've been on the job a few days. So far, you've fired nobody. Now, the drones.
Thank you,
Were
sir.
you offered drones?
Senator
So there
Hawley.
was an offer to fly a drone on that day.
And why did you deny it?
Again, I think the ability of local law enforcement to provide an asset, we probably should have taken them up on it if it was offered.
Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Rowe, thank you for being here. I agree with what you said at the outset, that the individual Secret Service agents demonstrated remarkable personal courage, putting their bodies in between the line of sight of the shooter and the president. That being said, the bravery of the line agents is quite different from the decisions of Secret Service leadership. Secret Service leadership committed catastrophic security failures. Indeed, the worst security failures for the Secret Service since 1981, since the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. It is incumbent upon this committee to determine why those security failures happened. Just after the shooting, Secret Service put out an official statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed.
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about the media reporting of assets requested, there were times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
So I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph, top officials of the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination, according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right, that repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets are requested. There's a process that is made, and
How many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
I can get you that number in a queue.
You don't know, you don't know now,
So I can speak to the ones that were reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
but you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since 2021 that the former Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way, did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
Has this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he
He
still
is
have a
still
job?
employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, did she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements, they do deconflict them and they put them out.
Did she approve this statement?
I don't know if she did or did not.
And you
Senator.
don't know if you did either.
I don't recall approving it, Senator.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the Trump detail and every response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
May I ask you something? And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the
Any of
Washington
them.
Post?
Yes.
The process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our.
Okay,
Office
so
of
there's a
Investi-
bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy,
Give
Senator.
me
It's
the
a
person that's the
process.
decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or
So
nay.
let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not
and nor
answering
do
my,
they
but you know what?
allow. I'll get
Leadership
to your
appointed by
answer,
the
Senator,
president,
if you allow
leadership
me
appointed
to.
by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Is there, does
That
the
is a
buck stop anywhere?
bicameral- that
Does
is
the
a
buck stop anywhere?
bipartisan process
So,
that the Hill
It's a
participates in.
bicameral, bipartisan process. What
For a
cameral?
candidate,
You
for
are
a
not a
candidate
Congress. You don't have a
protectee,
cameral.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the question. Let me ask, because the failures on that day were catastrophic. By the way, is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent from President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not true. There was one airport agent that actually went on the manpower request for the Trump detail. They handled the arrival at the airport.
What
for
is the
First Lady.
what was the
and
relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the President or the First Lady?
Senator, the former president travels with a full shift, just like
What-
the president.
What's the, so the exact same size? Is that your testimony that
The-
President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only
Hold on,
has-
you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding.
That's a
That's
yes
what
or
you
no.
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2X, 3X, 5X,
National
10X?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike, sir.
I'm
There
not
are other assets
How many
that
more
travel with
agents?
the president that
Sir,
the former president
Sir,
will
you are
not get.
refusing to
But the
answer
number of
straight.
Secret Service
Sir,
agents protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You are
Senator.
refusing to answer clear and direct questions. I am asking the relative difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2x? Is it 3x? Is it 5x? Is it 10x?
Senator, I will get you that number so you can see it with your own eyes.
Senator Marshall, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Rowe, there was probably 10 buildings within sniper range of President Trump on that afternoon. Why was the building being used by the sniper not in the security zone?
That's a question that I've asked, Senator. There was a decision that we were going to construct the site and it was going to maintain within the Butler Farm site, Butler Farm Show site. That building, that AGR, was right on the curtilage of our outer perimeter. And it's something that again, having been there and walked it, I had a hard time understanding.
So
as
there's no
to
protocol
why.
that says anything within 300, 500 yards, direct line of the president should be in or out of the security zone. There's not a protocol that describes that.
So, Senator, what we try to do is we try to either control the high ground or mitigate line of sight concerns.
Okay. You've stated that on multiple occasions, President Trump's team was denied more of a detail, more assets. Who denies that? Who is the person that denies that, generally speaking?
So, Senator, there's a process. Again, there's a conversation had with the detail.
There's got to be a buck stopping. There's got to be someone. Who is the person? Is it a level within the DC agencies? Is it someone in the Pittsburgh office? Who denies that?
It has nothing to do with the Pittsburgh office,
Okay.
sir. It is a conversation between not only the detail, the field office, but also.
I don't want to know the conversation. I want to know who makes the decision.
The decision, sir, is it's our process between the Office of Protective Operations and the Office of Investigations.
Is there a title for this position?
It is called we affectionately call it the War Room, and it's where all of our logistics files into.
So it's a room that makes the decision.
It is a staffing and assignments officer.
Okay. Is the Secret Service required to do a briefing with all entities of law enforcement involved in the event of the days leading up to the event and the day of the event?
We do a police meeting, sir, where we start the.
So it's
initial
required. Is it required? Is it part of your standard operating procedure?
The police meeting is what initiates the advance, and that is what is required.
Was this meeting held on that day?
The police meeting took place on the days prior to that.
Do you have documents of that meeting was actually happened?
If we do, sir, I will get them to you.
But you're saying that it did not happen on the day of the event.
So I think what you're referring to is a briefing that the state and locals would have done with themselves. We did a briefing with our own folks. They briefed.
When did you? Did your people meet with local law enforcement the day of the assassination attempt?
Yes.
Okay, and you realize that the local law enforcement says no, that meeting never happened, and that's why we need to get these people in to talk to us, and this is why the FBI needs to be speaking up sooner than later and say that meeting did or didn't happen. Surely there's some type of documentation of that meeting one way or the other. Is there documentation of that meeting?
So, Senator, I can tell you that what you're referring to is the counter sniper team seconded to Butler ESU. Our personnel met with the team lead from Butler ESU, and they discussed areas of concern, areas of responsibility, and that did in fact happen at the site on that day.
Director, I think you would agree with me that there were multiple individual and institutional failures the day of this assassination attempt. You have a $3 billion budget. You're still 2,000 employees short. And in 2022, the Secret Service had a 48% departure rate. That tells me you either have a cultural problem or just gross incompetence. Which one is it?
So, Senator, I would challenge that 48% departure rate. Let me get you some statistics that we have. It is not 48%.
But go back to the multiple failures that we saw on an individual basis as long as systemic. I think it proves that there's either incompetence or some type of a cultural problem within the SS.
So, Senator, I know you're not calling our workforce incompetent, and I know we do not have a cultural problem. If anything, we are dedicated to making sure that we don't have mission failure. And let me get you the hiring numbers that we have, because I think you will actually see that, no, we've actually done very well fairly recently with trying to make sure that we have the numbers that we need. Of course, we need more people. Everybody does. But let me get you those numbers, and I think let your own eyes.
Would you
see it.
also disagree with me when it's reported that almost 50% of the rank and file officers don't trust leadership within the Secret Service?
Senator, I think it's the right of every worker to talk bad about their boss.
Thank you. I yield back.
Senator Hirono, you're recognized for your
Thank you,
questions.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're watching
Clearly,
coverage of
there's a lot that
the
Secret Service
Senate.
has to
The Senate oversight,
answer
essentially, it's
for
the Senate
if
Oversight
it's
Committee and the Senate
security
Judiciary
failure.
Committee.
But I
They
wanna
are
follow up
questioning
on,
Paul Abate, the
Mr.
FBI
Biden's
Deputy
testimony
Director, and
that
Ronald
an
Rowe,
online
the
profile
Acting Director of the
shooter
United
may have
States
been
Secret Service.
found, and
This
he
is
said
the
it
Wells
contains
Report. Thanks for
anti-Semitic
joining us.
and
Let's get back to the hearing.
anti-immigrant, postings. Can you elaborate? Have you found anything further in the shooter's profile?
Senator, this was just discovered, as I mentioned, and it's being closely analyzed right now. We need to verify that it is, in fact, that it belonged to the now deceased shooter and that he made these comments. So that's why I felt it important in the interest of transparency to share that here, but add the caveat that we still have a lot of work to do, which we're working on quickly to determine that. It's of importance, I think, because if it is, in fact, the shooter that posted these comments, it's the first real indication where he's expressing what are described as extremist views and talking about political violence.
I take it that once you determine that it was in fact the shooter who posted these kinds of comments, that you will let the public know as well as this committee?
Absolutely, Senator.
I think, in fact, it is very important that many of the perpetrators of mass shootings, et cetera, have these kinds of postings online that are very anti-immigrant, anti-Semitic, anti-everything. And it is really important, as we determine the kind of profile for many of these shooters, that we understand how critical it is that we are careful, how critically important it is that people are careful about what they're posting online, the misinformation, disinformation, everything else along those lines. This is for Mr. Abate once again. What kind of firearm, what kind of weapon did Crooks use in the assassination attempt?
This was an AR-15 style rifle manufactured by a company named Panther Arms.
And once again, many of the persons involved in these kinds of mass shootings use this particular kind of weapon. We know from similar hearings that the Judiciary Committee has had that we are a nation awash in guns. In your view, shouldn't we be doing more to prevent the easy accessibility of these kinds of firearms in our country?
Senator, we're focused on collecting the facts here, and I'm not going to comment on something like that.
Well, I know that that there is a hesitancy to ask about firearms and all of that, and I should think that as a law enforcement person that you probably have some opinions along those lines, but you don't want to articulate what to many people in our country. There's a causal factor here, the easy accessibility of guns. And I want to ask that question because I think it's important that the American people understand that, we are a nation that
That is
a
Senator
Washington-
Mazie Hirono of Hawaii. She is a Democrat, and she's asking the Deputy Director of the FBI to opine on a political issue, and he obviously is not going to do so. Otherwise, this hearing has been very, very well done by both of these men, Paul Abate, the FBI Deputy Director, and Ronald Rowe, the Acting Director of the United States Secret Service. There has been news made. I will explain to you what I just heard. Coming up in just a couple of moments, why don't you explain what you just heard? Call us 817-379-2172. This is The Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Obviously, there have been some very serious and what I consider to be incredible statements being made by these two people involved in the aftermath of the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. Paula Bate is the FBI deputy director. Ronald Rowe is the acting director of the United States Secret Service. He's had his job for about a week. There has been an awful lot made about who is making the decisions regarding whether or not President Trump gets the same kind of Secret Service protection that President Joe Biden would get. Now, I would suspect that what was said is true, that there are certain differences between a sitting president and a former president when it comes to a Secret Service detail. Even a former president who is running for office again. This is not something that has happened much. As a matter of fact, I believe it's somewhere around 128 years since Grover Cleveland lost the presidency, then ran for re-election and gained the presidency. So this is not something that is part and parcel of typical operations. That being said, still no excuse. So just exactly what is that? Is this, and you answer this question for me. I'm positing a question that I would love to ask the men who are sitting there. The question that I would like to ask they are, okay, so there are obviously differences between a sitting president and a former president. Were there requests made by the detail after the former president became a Republican presidential candidate again? And apparently there were. There are news reports from credible sources, more than one, that say those requests were denied. From there, let's see, Tom Hawley and also Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz wanted to know who the person was that was making that decision. And the acting Secret Service director, Ronald Rowe, got into the process. Well, okay, we take the request, and then what we do, no, hold it. Who is making the decision as to whether or not there will be additional Secret Service assets deployed for Donald Trump? And he said, well, it's a conversation. No. Who is the person? What is the actual job title? As we found out moments ago, the actual job title is Staffing and Assignments Officer. That sounds like somebody sitting in a tactical operations center or a security operations center or something, making decisions at that particular time of that nature. That may not necessarily be someone who sits in that chair the entire time. In other words, there's likely a rotation of people around the clock that become the Staffing and Assignments Officer. Who is that person? We do not know. Is that person a deep state operative? We do not know. And so as we come to this conversation, the good news is that we are peeling back layers of the onion. The bad news is it's an onion. Let's get back to the hearing. This is Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana questioning Paula Abate, who was the FBI deputy director.
Mr. Rowe, help me understand this. The assassin Crooks fired his first shot, as I understand it, at 6:12 p.m. He was about 150 yards away. It's been reported that the snipers, the government snipers, saw him on the roof 20 minutes before. Not 2 minutes, 20 minutes before. Is that correct?
Senator, that's first time I'm hearing this. That is not correct based on the information I have right now, sir.
Well, when did the FBI snipers see him on the roof?
Just Secret Service sniper, sir. I mean,
I'm sorry,
That-
you're right.
that's an
Secret
insult,
Service
sir.
sniper.
No, I'm just kidding.
I understand. I apologize. When did the Secret Service snipers, one of whom ultimately shot the assassin crooks, first see him on that roof?
So, sir, immediately upon the shots being fired, our snipers,
I know that, but when did they first see him? You got a guy lying on a roof.
Yeah.
You got snipers in an elevated position. They can look down on the roof. You got the guy lying there with a gun pointed at the former president of the United States. And I'm just, and they shot him. Good for them. He's now dead as Woodrow Wilson, and that's a good thing. I'm sorry. God forgive me, but it's a good thing. But when did the snipers first see him?
as soon as he presented himself as a target and a threat to the president, sir.
And when was that?
He fires initially a volley. I believe it was 3 shots.
No, he fired at 6:12 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's the first shot.
So within 15.5 seconds of the
Here's
first
what-
shot,
he-
he's
Here's what
neutralized.
people are asking.
Yes, sir.
He was up, Crooks was up there. The snipers at some point saw him,
Yes, sir.
our snipers, because they killed him.
Yes, sir.
When did they first see him? It has been reported repeatedly that the snipers first saw him 20 minutes before. That's more than a quarter in an NFL football game.
Yes, sir.
You don't know the answer?
So
to
I do
that?
know the answer, sir. I'm telling you that,
What is the answer?
no,
when
they
did-
did not see him. They only
They never saw him.
No, sir.
Well,
did
they,
not.
how could they not see the guy? How could they not see him? They're in an elevated position. They're checking rooftops. They're looking around.
Yes,
There's 2 government snipers. How could they not see him? There he was, big as Dallas, lying there with a gun pointed at the president. How could they not see him?
I believe he was obscured by that roof, sir. He did not pop up.
The roof is flat with ridges.
He's below the line where they would have seen him, sir. There is he did have concealment. I'm not going to say it's cover. He did have concealment, and then ultimately gets into firing position and fires. And within 15.5 seconds of his first shot, he's
All
neutralized.
right, I've gone way over. You gentlemen need to answer these questions. Mr. Deputy Director, get me that information about those lawsuits.
Senator Rosen, you're recognized for your questions.
Thank you, Chair Peters, and Ranking Member Paul for holding this important hearing on the attempted assassination of former President Trump. I am grateful for everyone's service and dedication. However, it's critical that this committee get to the bottom of what happened that day so that we can prevent any future catastrophic security failures and ensure that nothing like this happens again.
That's your man.
And so, Director Rowe, given that the event took place in a rural area, we've talked a lot about connectivity issues. Was law enforcement at a disadvantage due to a lack of or limited connectivity? And why has the Secret Service not adopted a dedicated satellite-enabled Wi-Fi connection, which would facilitate integrated communication, enable device connectivity to include drones, and allowing for the sharing of real-time intelligence?
So, Senator, thank you for that question. So, based on what I've seen, that radio connectivity, cellular was an issue that day. With respect to the satellite broadband, that is something that I've tasked our CIO, and then we're getting some support from the Department of Homeland Security on. So we will start to leverage whatever asset we have to ensure that connectivity.
Well, all I can say on that is, first of all, a brilliant question by Senator Rosen, who is the Democrat from Nevada. And second, I'm sure that X's Elon Musk would be more than happy to help the Secret Service with Starlink and any number of other capabilities. And they certainly could set up a classified, certainly a very secret Starlink broadband for anywhere in the world for the Secret Service. Okay, so once again, what came out of that particular segment of that particular testimony has to do with the fact that at some point, the Secret Service snipers saw the guy on the roof. Now, Senator Kennedy did make a mistake. He said that the roof in question was flat. It was not. There's a very, very slight peak. And then there is a metal structure on top of that keeps the rain out of the actual seams where the roof comes together. So there's this square thing there. We don't know exactly what the angles are. We know that the Secret Service snipers were higher, but just exactly how much higher? In other words, if you have this slant and you've got this, let's use this, okay? I think you can see this. Yeah, you see this right here? Let's assume that's that structure at the top of the building. So I'm going to use my fingertips as crooks. And then I'm going to say, so I can keep this in the shot. I'm going to say that here we have the Secret Service snipers, 2 guys, right? Two guys right here. Well, would they be able to see Crooks's head? Would they be able to see him? Now, we don't know that. There has been a shooting reconstruction. That is part of the investigation. We haven't seen that yet because the official angles, distances, and so on are still being looked at from a standpoint of classification and a standpoint of accuracy. But it is possible that the Secret Service sniper may not necessarily have been able to see the shooter instantly. It's been reported, say, 20 minutes. Okay, well, I doubt very sincerely that a Secret Service sniper would have seen someone on the roof with a rifle for 20 minutes before deciding to take the shot. We also found out today that the Secret Service snipers are autonomous. They can make the decision to shoot or not shoot. So we then get ourselves back to the problem of, okay, where's the backpack? If the rifle's in the backpack, and this is at odds with reporting earlier that said something along the line of the rifle was retrieved. Was the backpack behind an air conditioning unit? Was the rifle behind the air conditioning unit? How come it was not found? So if there's a backpack, that's taller. So suddenly now we have our angles where now you got a backpack sitting there. Okay. Or maybe a backpack on its side, but that's still above this line. Again, we don't know what the angles are, but this is not adding up here. This is not adding up yet. We did not get a clear answer from Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe as to when the Secret Service snipers acquired the target and then when they shot. It seems to me that a rifleman who was sitting there in a position to shoot would be seen at roughly in the same exact place where the Secret Service sniper would then take him out. Because you're not going to lie down here like this and go, boom. You're not going to do that. So in other words, the Secret Service sniper saw the guy before he took him out and before the rifle shots were fired. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert. I'm waiting for information just like you. But I can look through this with a mechanical understanding of just exactly how all this works. And it's not adding up. That's bad. Why is it not adding up? And just exactly who is the staffing and assignments officer that may have turned down requests for additional coverage for President Donald Trump? Because clearly, with an empty roof, somebody was missing. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. John David Wells rejoining our hearing from the United States Senate. We have another senator, the one somebody that you know. I'm sorry, his name just slipped my mind because I've been watching what has been going on with this. Great questions being asked. Let's get some answered. Let's go back to the hearing.
Of how many people we can put through when it comes to a counter sniper or something like that, because I know that's been the subject of some media reporting where they have requested counter snipers. We do have a finite number of counter snipers. And so what we try to do is if we cannot fill that asset, and that's where we'll say, hey, we can't fill this assignment. However, through the field office, they will use local law enforcement resources. And so in those situations, for example, in the one that has been the subject of a lot of reporting with Pickens, South Carolina, they in fact did use local assets to be able to do that. And there were 3 counter sniper teams. One of them was formerly with the Secret Service Uniform Division. And so they actually used the same practices that we use. So it's not that there was a drop in the capability. They actually use the best practices that we would use. So the asset may be denied by Secret Service between the war room and that conversation with the detail in the field, but it doesn't equate to a vulnerability or a gap.
Okay, one final question about the Iran threat. As you know, Iran made credible threats against several former Trump administration officials, many of whom
This is Senator
still have,
Tom Cotton. He is the Republican
government-provided
from Arkansas.
Security details to this day. Ms. Cheadle removed Secret Service protection from Robert O'Brien last year. Were you involved in that decision?
So, Senator, he was a memorandum protectee, meaning that the president authorized protection for him. We do not weigh in on who gets protection.
Why? So you're still protecting some others. I won't reveal their names. You are still protecting others and other personal security offices in the federal government.
All right, so we're getting into the weeds on operations. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. That's Senator Tom Cotton. I keep getting him confused with Josh Hawley from Missouri. Don't ask me why. Okay, I don't really have a good answer for that. And in that, I'm just going to do the same thing that the Secret Service has done, just sort of cling to stony silence. It is the Wells Report. We will be back with more coming up in just a couple of moments. A very meaningful news day today as we watch the Secret Service and the FBI try to explain the assassination attempt against Donald Trump on the 13th of June. Back with more in a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news, it's opinion. Yours and mine, equally valuable. So let's compare. Let's debate. 817-379-2172 is our telephone number. Feel free to call, weigh in, tell me what you think. I'm not going to argue. We're going to have just a nice conversation about what you think, whether you agree, disagree. This is a caller-friendly broadcast. 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. There is some information here that I want to share with you. You know the famous photograph of Donald Trump standing with his fist in the air, yelling fight with the American flag behind him against a perfect blue sky, with Secret Service agents all around him and blood streaming down his face. You have seen that. There is some news about that. Facebook wrongly called that popular image of Donald Trump pumping his fist in the air after an assassination attempt against him as an altered photo. This, according to a spokesperson admitting this yesterday. Her name is Danny Lever. Users across X shared report that their Facebook accounts were labeling the image as altered, explaining independent fact checkers reviewed a similar photo and said it was altered in a way that could mislead people. Meta Public Affairs Director Danny Lever explained on X it was done in error as the systems were meant to detect a separate version of the image. This is a separate version that I have not seen. I don't know what image they're talking about, and I suspect that they don't know either. Here is the X post. It says, "This was an error. The fact check was initially applied to a doctored photo showing the Secret Service agent smiling, and in some cases, our system incorrectly applied that fact check to the real photo. This has been fixed. We apologize for the mistake." I'm getting an Amber Alert. Child abduction in Houston, Texas. A black 2015 Chevrolet Tahoe, license plate 310GOE. That's 310GOE. The victim is 12-year-old white female, Chloe Brewer Clark. Last seen wearing a green and yellow SpongeBob shorts and matching sports top. The suspect is a 26-year-old black male. The name is Ariel Anderson. Call 911 for more information. So, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you as we look this over. So once again, the Facebook has backed itself into a corner along with other big media. So apparently there was some kind of miscalculation by either the Facebook personnel or the algorithm that makes these decisions for Facebook personnel. And they started essentially censoring the photo that was indeed real. So this is live PD Dave. Mark Zuckerberg is now censoring the photo on Facebook. His fact checkers say it's fake and suddenly won't allow it to show. Make sure you keep sharing it far and wide and spread the word about Facebook's election interference. CC to @Elon Musk. All right. So once again, there are people saying, so it's still showing. It still shows another mistake, says Mandy Culver, and there are other people here too. So she also goes on to say, you and your boss are not very good at lying. A repeat of tipping the scale like in 2020 is not a mistake. This is what I meant by Facebook and other social media outlets backing themselves into a corner when they decide to make themselves into the ministry of truth. You can't do that. You simply can't do it. Free speech is free speech. It is uncomfortable. People say things on Facebook all the time that mislead people. It is impossible for anybody to be able to determine which is misleading and which isn't based on their own thought process or even the thought process of artificial intelligence, which we know is somewhat incomplete. So when you start saying, well, this is true and this is not true, and you appoint yourself a minister of truth, things begin to fall apart. And they begin to fall apart in a big, fat hurry. And that's exactly what Facebook is dealing with. And yes, with their admitted history of essentially interfering with the 2020 election and possibly the 2016 election, these questions and these pointed comments by people watching this unfold in front of them are valid and are necessary to the public discourse. The good news is that Facebook said, yep, we made a mistake. Okay, that's good. But are those algorithms still in place? Facebook is going to face a policy decision. Are they simply going to open up their entire platform to people saying whatever they want? That is exactly what's happened on X, where this broadcast appears every single day live. Thank you, Mr. Musk. I appreciate it very much. So are they just going to open it up and say, okay, it's the Wild West, it's free for all, free speech? That's what I would suggest they do. That's what I would suggest. The marketplace will regulate itself. People, by making decisions who they block, who they don't block, who they follow, who they don't follow, will make these decisions for Facebook. Facebook cannot hide behind the fact, well, we've got liability issues. No, you don't. As a matter of fact, the very law that exists to protect you is still in place. It's still in place. And so you're protected. So what are you doing? Looks to me like you're interfering with the election. Looks to me like you're interfering with free speech. Interfering with free speech is anti-constitutional. It's unconstitutional. You don't get to decide to work outside the constitutional boundaries of the United States of America if you do business in the United States of America. You are bound by the Constitution. And right at the top of the Bill of Rights is free speech. You are not compromising yourself in any real or legal way by allowing free speech. If that had been the case, X would have been sued 50 billion times from Sunday. And they're not. Is Facebook uncomfortable to read? It sure is. Especially now. With all these sycophantic people talking about Kamala Harris and so on and so on. It's like, really? I mean, they're simply ignoring reality. But that's just my opinion. Would I stop them from being able to issue their opinion? No, and hell no. In fact, if you want to say some of that stuff on this broadcast, here's the telephone number again, 817-379-2172. Be advised, I will ask questions. I'm not going to try to get you. I'm simply going to try to clarify your point, if it's possible. So now Facebook is stepped in it again. What will they be able to do, if anything, to be able to rehabilitate this mess? Who knows? Speaking of messy things being spoken about, there are all kinds of those. And the latest Democrat talking point being is how lawfare did not work, and Russia did not work, and all of the other things, the other hoaxes surrounding Donald Trump have not worked. What they're doing at this particular moment, apparently, is they are deciding that the Republicans are weird. This is a talking point that has been used incessantly for the past couple of days So much so that one of these famous montages has been put together. Fox News did this one, and it was on Fox and Friends earlier this morning. Take a look.
The Democrats are looking at the Republican ticket and saying, these guys are just weird. Watch.
Donald Trump has been resorting to some wild lies about my record, and some of what he and his running mate are saying, well, it's just plain weird.
And 3 days ago, the nation found out what we've all known in Minnesota. These guys are just weird. That's who they are.
Every day, Vance, it comes out, Vance has done something more extreme, more weird, more erratic.
One of those things, of course, is pointing out the differences between these two candidates. I mean, on the other side, they're just weird. I mean, they really are.
There is a temptation to have our message be entirely about Donald Trump because we're so disturbed by what his return would mean. Right. And maybe a little more also about J.D. Vance because of how odd he's turned out to be.
You ever see this guy? Like when he's on stage, he like kind of meanders over, can't really walk well. And he goes over to the flag and he like hugs the flag. I mean, I love the flag, but it's a weird thing he does.
Yeah, it's a weird thing he does, hugs the flag. That was a mistake. That was a mistake. So the latest talking point from the Democrat Party against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance is that they are weird. I don't think that's going to get them very far. USA Today reports it as follows. The political word of the moment is weird. It may have been unprecedented that President Joe Biden drop out of the 2024 presidential race about 100 days from the election. But that isn't what the Democrats and Republicans are sparring over. They're sparring over the word weird. Not that it was weird that a president who had 14 million votes through the primary season, or what essentially is accepted as the primary season for the Democrat Party, were all set aside in what was a political coup, removing him from his re-election campaign, which he said that he was in to win. No, we have Vice President Kamala Harris, who is someone who, for whatever reason, is being described by USA Today as a younger, more meme-friendly candidate that has stepped in as the Democrat standard bearer. A host of her surrogates have started labeling her opponents, Donald Trump and Senator J.D. Vance, as being weird. It appears that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who reportedly is under consideration for being Harris's running mate, may have started this wave of attacks. Here is how USA Today, this is what they think they know about how things got weird. The weird people on the other side, said Waltz in an interview, they want to take books away. They want to be in your exam room. That's what it comes down to. And don't, get sugarcoat this. These are weird ideas. Listen to them speak. Listen to how they talk about things. The following day, the Harris campaign posted an edited video of Vance's viral remarks about Diet Mountain Dew and racism with the caption, "It's getting weird." Since then, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and others in the Democrat Party have mirrored the message in news interviews. Waltz explained why he uses weird to attack Republicans on an interview on State of the Union over the weekend. Listen to the guy. He's talking about Hannibal Lecter and shocking sharks and just whatever crazy things pops into his mind. And I thought we were giving him way too much credit, referring to some of the alarm bells Democrats have raised on Trump's threats to democracy. Another hoax. When you just ratchet down some of the, scariness or whatever, and you name it what it is, my observation on this is, have you ever seen the guy laugh? Okay, so what we're seeing is hysteria. We're seeing hysteria. This has been going through the Democrat Party ever since the debate on July 13th, by the way. No, that was June 13th. No, yeah, that was June 13th. The actual assassination attempt was July 13th. I got that wrong a minute ago. But what we're seeing is the same hysteria post-debate, where they had to depose their sitting candidate and then pick another candidate that, regardless of all the sycophantic things being said about Kamala Harris, there are real problems with her candidacy. And they are egging it on because they're saying, look at all these old statements that J.D. Vance made. Are we really going there? Are these people really going there? The reason I'm asking is because wait until you start seeing what Kamala Harris has said in the past. Yeah, this is chaos. And it's Democrat style. Back in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Going over the chat room, Arlen Wood, who's a dear friend of mine, asked a very good question. This is insane. How did civilians see the shooter from ground level and the Secret Service snipers did not? Well, all I can do is approximate it, but take a look at this. Okay? This is an approximation of what the Secret Service would have seen. Let me go to the right camera here. Okay. You see that red pin? All right. So 150 yards. That's about what that roof would look like to the Secret Service. All right. Now, imagine this pin is someone at ground level, right about here. You can see that they would have a much clearer viewpoint. If you look at it this way, they would have a much clearer viewpoint, right, of the shooter than, say, for example, the Secret Service shooter. The problem with all that is that both of those Secret Service shooters were staring at the guy, guns trained on him, for a long time. What were they seeing? It's only 150 yards. Those are probably, what do you think, Gary? 10 power scopes. They may be 3 to 9 power variable scopes, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, at this setting, it's 3 times bigger than it normally would. At this setting, it's 10 times normal variable power. So what kind of scopes are they using? Probably Schmidt and Bender, and they could see just about everything. They would be able to isolate this shooter from this angle, assuming that particular target package. My thumb's in the way. Let me see if I can get my thumb out of the way, because my thumb is bigger than the pen. All right? They should be able to see that. Now, he's not dressed in red, obviously. And they were definitely looking at something over there. I'm pretty sure it was the shooter. So how many seconds passed from the time that they had a shooter on the roof or some unauthorized person on the roof to be able to go, okay, do we have anybody on the roof? Anyone? The only thing that makes any sense is if the Secret Service shooters thought that it might have been a police officer. Well, a police officer would be standing there bravely in his flak vest. So that's a great question, Arlen. I appreciate that. Let's see. Videos are available of the shooter and his rifle. That's true, but they are at a different angle. Remember that slant. They're standing right here. They can see more of the roof than the Secret Service snipers could. Let's see. Don't forget, when it comes down to actual censorship of the famous, iconic photograph of Donald Trump standing there with the American flag behind him with a blue sky. Don't forget that Google also decided to start messing with search results when you queried Trump for the Trump assassination attempt. They included every other assassination attempt in the last 2 centuries, but did not refer to the Trump assassination attempt. Here, let's see if they fixed that. I'm going to Chrome, which is Google, and I'm going to go Trump MP assassination attempt. ATTEMPT attempt. Okay, so I got that there. Let me add a couple of S's here. I need to make an S out of myself for a minute. Trump assassination attempt. And I hit it. Okay, then they have the news stories, Trump shooter update, crypto in the 2024 election, the Trump assassination attempt congressional hearing, update on the FBI investigation, attempted assassination of Donald Trump from Wikipedia, Trump assassination attempt formed from careful planning, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So they must have fixed the problem. But I saw that myself a couple of days ago. Somebody needs to get a hold of Big Tech and tell them to knock it off right this minute. I wonder who would do that. Well, let's see. That would be the Republican Party, wouldn't it? Yeah, that would be the Republican Party. So do you think it will get done? Let's see. The Republican Party getting something done. I guess the answer would be no. Back in a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. And so, President Biden has entered the lame duck phase of his presidency. Everybody says, no, he's not a lame duck. No, he's not a lame duck. No, he runs circles around it all. Yeah. So he is going to move forward with a progressive agenda, possibly dictated by those who have been dictating everything else about the Biden administration. And that involves the Supreme Court of the United States. In case you do not remember, the president did issue 3 things he wanted to change about the Supreme Court: term limits, a code of ethics, and he has tried to do something about presidential immunity. In other words, a president should not be able to commit crimes while in office, in that he has been dishonest. Let's talk a little bit more about that after you hear what he had to say recently about that subject.
They ruled, as you know, that the President of the United States has immunity for potential crimes he may have committed while in office. Immunity. This nation was founded on the principle there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. And for all practical purposes, the court's decision almost certainly means that the president can violate their oath, flout our laws, and face no consequences. Here's what Justice Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice, wrote in her dissent. I quote, "Under the majority's reasoning, the president now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders a Navy SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power. Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon. Immune. In every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law." Just what Justice Sotomayor wrote in her dissent. Folks, just imagine what a president could do in trampling civil rights and liberties given such immunity. The court's being used to weaponize an extreme and unchecked agenda. This decision is a total affront to the basic expectations we have for those who wield the power in this nation, that they are expected to be wholly accountable under the law. The president is no longer constrained by the law, and only limits on abuse of power will be self-imposed by the president alone. That's a fundamentally flawed view and a fundamentally flawed principle, a dangerous principle.
The president is lying. That is not what the Supreme Court said. It had nothing to do with any of that. What the Supreme Court said is the president has immunity from official acts. Ordering SEAL Team 6 to kill a political rival is not an official act, or any of the other things that he said. First of all, it's an illegal order, and no SEAL Team 6 member would ever carry it out. That's thing number one. And yes, it would lead to a real impeachment of a president that would be sustained. He would be removed from office forthwith. We know how quickly that process can be done. I mean, it's just a matter of days. And nobody would vote against removing from office a president who had done any of the things the president just talked about. This is important for you to understand because you're being lied to. You are being lied to. And it's across the board by both sides. I'm pointing these things out, not because I'm the minister of truth, but because I do this every day. And I can see the forest for the trees. And by the way, when I say what I think, you know that that is not law. That is not news. I just don't do that. Other people do. I do not. But that the president would say, okay, here's the SAT word of the day. Again, scurrilous. He would say these scurrilous things. That is plainly dishonest. Now, regarding the idea that the president would like to make changes in the Supreme Court, conservative activist Leonard Leo, this from Fox News, by the way, says President Biden's efforts to overhaul the Supreme Court may be an effective way to energize his political base, which is probably what he's doing. But he should also watch out for less progressive voters being reminded of what's at stake in November. Mr. Leo says it's a good political ploy. It will certainly help to energize a Democrat base that's reeling from a lot of disorder and uncertainty lately. But ultimately, these are the kinds of proposals I think are not likely to be adopted. But if adopted, they would really politicize the institution of the Supreme Court. It would never get anywhere. The Supreme Court would immediately set aside the law as violating the separation of powers in the United States government and declare it unconstitutional, and off it goes. The influential fundraiser and legal activist known for his work with the Federalist Society has helped shape the conservative judiciary over the past decades. Leo said in an interview that Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptive 2024 Democrat nominee who endorsed the radical overhaul efforts, could just as easily motivate conservatives. That's something that I brought up yesterday. when I said that indeed one of the big issues in the 2016 campaign was who's going to choose the next round of Supreme Court justices. That was a big issue. And nobody wanted Hillary Clinton to do that job. And so the American people spoke. And once again, there was a situation where okay, everybody will say, well, she got more popular votes. Yeah, she got a lot of popular votes, all right. But what about that? What about that pesky electoral college? Well, we shouldn't have an electoral college. Well, yeah, we should, because the people of Wyoming should have a hand in choosing who the next president should be, as opposed to a handful of states on both coasts that are submerged in human feces and homeless camps. I mean, honestly, okay? The Electoral College exists for a reason. We are the United States of America. Pure democracy does not work as well as a republic. We know that to be true. Keep in mind that Greece was a pure democracy. It absolutely was. And at one time, they were a world power. But they are no longer a world power and have not been for centuries, insofar as pure democracy is the rule of the mob. And while we indeed care about what the majority of people think, we do have something in place to make sure that everybody in America gets to indeed make a decision as to who the next president of the United States should be. More about that coming up in just a couple of seconds. Joining us is who? Welcome to the Wells Report.
It's Gary from beautiful downtown Fort Worth, Texas.
It's good to have you, Gary. So we've been talking about the assassination attempt. We've been talking a little bit about the deputy FBI director and the acting director of the Secret Service. And I don't know whether you saw any of the video that I did, but I was kind of approximating what the Secret Service snipers would have seen versus somebody standing on the side. And you could see that there would be discrepancies into what people actually saw that perhaps Secret Service snipers would not see. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. I caught the most of that. My apologies for not getting to you a little sooner. I was a little tied up. Yeah, right off the bat, I think the key thing is, and many folks had that question, immediately after the video was released of the two Secret Service folks on the roof. Now, not to give away trade secrets, because I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I mean, to me, all these missions, whether they're local, state, or federal law enforcement, they're still classified, and all the techniques should not be talked about.
Let me interrupt you there for a moment, Gary. You have done this job, have you not? You are a former police sniper, are you not?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I've never been in that type of situation. The only thing that we ever used ours for, once again, I came from a small department, was pretty much just gather intel. That's intel and data. That's actually what they do. They're not out there to, okay, we're going to set up, we're going to take the shot, we're going to clean this stuff up and go home.
Actually, the job title is sniper observer, is it not?
Yes, and all of those on every level is more observer, even in the military. But with that being said, a lot of people pointed out, and correctly so, when those two were both looking in one direction. There was no they didn't have to transverse their weapons. They were right keyed onto that. So how could you not see what was going on? And then some folks said, well, they got to get a clearance to shoot. That's not true. That's in the movies. That's a bunch of bunk. I mean, even on the local law enforcement level, if it's a situation like something like that, it's, that's it. You have control. You call a shot. You take the shot. You don't have to ask permission. So I just find it awfully odd that they were, they didn't have to move. They were engaged on target for quite some time before those shots were taken at former President Trump.
What about the assertion that maybe they thought it was a police officer? Does that make any sense?
No, it doesn't. And what you're looking at, just stopping short of this whole conspiracy thing, because I hate conspiracy.
Me too.
Everything's a conspiracy. It's all garbage. A lot of it. Not that they don't happen, they do. But I mean, for the failure is, it's on the onus of the Secret Service. So that, as we stated on previous programs, that in that direct line of sight, in that close a shot that you could hit something with iron sights, let alone a 10 the 3 to 10 power scope or whatever. It's that building should have been searched, and someone should have been on there securing that high point, that high ground. So it kind of lends credence to, well, yeah, there maybe was a conspiracy. And, why were they sitting so long on target? I don't know. I don't think those folks did anything wrong. I think they did what they were supposed to, but it raises a lot of questions.
It certainly does. Also in the testimony today, it came down to, with regards to Donald Trump's detail asking for more assets, it comes down apparently to the staffing and assignments officer. Now, that would be in a tactical operations center or something a little bit higher, say, for example, a situation room, control office, something like that. But a staffing and assignments officer, that would be, in most cases, a rotating assignment, would it not be?
You know what? I can't say, what goes on in the Fed level. I'm sure it's a permanent position where they have people, they have field people underneath them, but that would be my guess. Whenever we interacted with the Secret Service, whether it was on a county level or a local level, we always had a department liaison, and they briefed our folks, our supervisors, our first line supervisors, and they in turn briefed us. And there was always a Secret Service person, directly tied to us. If that kind of maybe answers that question. But as to what their structure is, whether it's a rotating thing, that I can't tell you.
Yeah, of course. But it does appear that when the senators said, okay, who's responsible for making that decision about adding assets to Donald Trump's personal protective detail, obviously there is someone who made that decision, or someones who made those decisions.
Oh, absolutely. And any law enforcement type thing, and you would know from the the Texas Guard, there's always a compilation of supervisors or people assigned that are going to gather all this data, gather all the facts and figures. They're going to crunch some numbers, and then they're going to kick it up to the the person in charge of that section, and they ultimately make the decision on that.
Yeah.
So it comes from a number of sources, which it should. But the person in charge of that unit, or in charge of that district, division, or whatever, they're the ones that are going to ultimately weigh all the numbers on both sides of the column and say yay or nay.
One of the senators in today's hearing in the United States Senate, one of the senators brought up the possibility that maybe that decision making, and I'm not asking you this question, but it was the Senate Judiciary and Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs committees standing together for this testimony. A couple of senators said that this looked like a political decision to them. Have you ever seen anything like that applied to the Secret Service before? And does that mean that we can discount it, or does it mean that maybe throughout the Obama administration we see a more politically oriented executive branch?
I think just to kind of answer that in a multi-faceted way.
Hurry.
I see a lot of stuff since 2009 during that administration. As to whether it was political, could be. I just don't know. I mean, none of us know, but yeah, I mean, it could be.
You think we're ever going to know?
Oh, of course not. Not with the absolute distrust and the weaponizing of federal law enforcement agencies, et cetera, et cetera. It's just we're just not going to know.
All right, Gary, thanks very much for your telephone call. I appreciate it. Gary knows what he's talking about. He's done that job before from a local level and a county level, working with the Secret Service as a sniper observer. In other words, there's something wrong, and we're going to find out more as time goes by. At least I hope so.
Vallarta.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Report. Hang on a minute. Hi. Let me see if I got. Oh, there's my music. The Wells Report. Hi. Who's this? Hello?
Oh, it's Gary again. Sorry about that. I was trying to get you on a commercial.
Oh, well, I'm sorry you missed it. I'll call you immediately after the broadcast.
Okay. I just wanted to correct something. Thanks.
All right, man. Thanks very much. I'll call you right after the. Okay. Well, what? Okay. Wait a minute. Hold it. What did you want to correct? Because you got.
Oh, no, not, I know. All the times I dealt, when I was assigned to, to assist the Secret Service and things, it wasn't as a sniper.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know that's why I just wanted to be clear on it.
That's good, man. Thanks very much for doing that. I probably smashed a couple of things together there. It was a mashup, and thank you. That's all me. Oh, that's on me.
No, no worries. No worries. All right. Thank you.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. This is the Wells Report. To put a finishing point on President Biden's ideas about the Supreme Court of the United States. Leonard Leo is a conservative activist. He says President Biden putting the Supreme Court into play does have the potential to energize conservatives during this presidential election. We know from experience the court issue has always motivated conservatives and Republicans more than it motivates Democrats and liberals. So there's a very good chance that by putting this issue in full view, it just allows Trump to campaign and Republican candidates to campaign in the Senate and the House to talk about the successes that have been had with the Constitution, the rule of law, the Supreme Court over the past several years, and that we should want more of the same. So it could potentially backfire. I brought that up yesterday, as I said, and indeed, I believe that's the case. I don't think this is I think this is more just political messaging. I don't expect any of this to go, certainly not in the waning days of a lame duck presidency. Okay, and so nothing is going to happen with this. There will not be a conservative constitutional amendment. There will not be changes in the Supreme Court. the Supreme Court does indeed have an ethics code. We don't know about it, but the Supreme Court does. And the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court administrates it. And I'm satisfied, even though I disagree with just exactly what Chief Justice John Roberts is doing. I'm pretty sure he's got a pretty tough and tight hold on the ethics of his colleagues. All right, so let's get back to something else. The Olympics are going on in Paris. All right, and there are some interesting things happening there. There are sabotage claims at the Olympics and an alleged Russian plot unmasked by drunkenness. So this is from USA Today. For the second time in days, by the way, there won't be any spoilers in this, okay? For the second time in days, French security officials were probing acts of coordinated sabotage apparently aimed at paralyzing critical infrastructure while Paris hosts the Olympics. Police said fiber optics cables used by several major telecom companies and providers were found cut in several areas of France. France's public prosecutor and counterterrorism police joined the investigation. Traditional telephone and cell phone data service were impacted by the incident, although it did not directly affect the Paris region. Marina Ferrari, France's cabinet-level minister for digital affairs, called it a cowardly and irresponsible act. It comes as authorities revealed they were investigating the possible involvement of ultra-left-wing groups in a separate incident hours before the Olympics opening ceremony that saw 3 different railway installations, also outside Paris, attacked. It caused widespread delays to France's high-speed train network. Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin told French media that authorities had identified a certain number of profiles among left-wing activists who could be responsible. A 28-year-old suspect was arrested over the weekend, being questioned in Rouen. That's a city in the Normandy region. No other details have been released. It was not clear if investigators believe the 2 incidents, Friday's train-related attack and cut fiber cables, which happened on Sunday night, are linked. Darmanin, or whatever, told French 2 television the attack on the railway installations closely resembled an assault on railway infrastructure carried out last year in France by ultra-left-wing movements. Let's see. Let me see if I can get to the drunken part, because that's always good, because essentially when you're in Paris, you're high on wine all the time. Okay? I mean, literally high on wine all the time. Let's see. Okay, here we go. In the run-up to the games, there was someone who said that he was concerned about threats of terrorism, especially Islamic terrorism, but also low-intensity threats from radicalized environmentalists, left-wing extremists, and the pro-Palestinian movement, as well as Russia-linked actors who could seek to cause fear or confusion. According to a joint investigation by France's Le Monde newspaper and Germany's Der Spiegel, a weekly magazine, one such Russian was a 40-year-old Le Cordon Bleu trained chef named Kirill Grazianov. Grazianov lived legally in France for over a decade. He was arrested July 19th with incriminating diplomatic material, according to those outlets, citing French investigators. Before he turned to high-end cooking, Gryaznov was a bespectacled lawyer. French prosecutors, according to Le Monde and Der Spiegel, alleged he was working on behalf of the FSB, the Russian Domestic Security Service. He was arrested and charged over allegations he aimed at the direction of Kremlin's intelligence services to stage large-scale acts of destabilization. Now, in recent months, other alleged plots connected to the Olympics were basically just demonstrations. According to telephone intercepts by the newspapers and news magazine, Grazianov, who was also a one-time reality star in Russia, blew his cover when he got kicked off a flight from Istanbul to Paris. Stranded in Bulgaria, he drunkenly called his handlers in Russia and boasted he was going to give Paris an opening ceremony like no other. So maybe he was responsible for the Last Supper screw-up and drag queens running all over Paris. Is that possible? Yeah, but not likely. This has been the Wells Report. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow with another edition of this broadcast. I hope you will be too. And thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. We'll see you tomorrow between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. on the platform.